if you got it like that, you got it like that. So good for you. My goodness, that is so generous. And if your family can help out with your wedding in any kind of way, that should be seen as a gift and a blessing to you. It shouldn't be seen as something that they have to do. Like, hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Brooke. I am a 28-year-old remote tech employee. And on this channel, I like to talk about personal finances and how we can get better with our money. Today, I'm going to do a really fun segment for you all. I am going to do a Reddit reaction. So this is something that I really love listening to. My husband and I listen to a lot of podcasts that read Reddit stories, like Too Hot Takes and Smosh reads Reddit stories. And so we're really into them. And so I wanted to do that for my channel with some finance stories. So what we're going to do is we are going to read a story from Am I the A-hole subreddit? So this is a channel where people go on and post questions and say, am I the a-hole for this situation? Fill in the blank. And I want to react to one of those today in this video. I think it's going to be really fun. But first, I'm going to just establish some ground rules. Firstly, this is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. I am not trying to give any financial advice, anything like that. All of this is just my own opinion, so don't come for me if you don't agree with it. And also don't take any of the advice I say as financial advice. This is a personal finance channel. Do what's good for your finances. Secondly, we do not want to be mean on this channel. So if you leave comments below about the story, please try and be kind to the original poster OP of this Reddit story. They were looking for advice and they came to Reddit to ask for genuine opinions. So I don't want anybody in my comments to be mean to them or anything like that. So if you're going to leave feedback, please be kind and constructive with your feedback. So without further ado, let's get into the Reddit story. Today, I decided to pick out a wedding Reddit story because my husband and I have only been married for about a year and a half, and so we're still very new, and I did most of the planning myself. My husband helped, and we had a day of coordinator, but I was really making sure that we stuck to our budget, that we got everything that we wanted, and that we were having a good time doing it and made a great experience for all of our loved ones to come and enjoy. And because it was only a year and a half ago, I still have lots of opinions about wedding culture and finances around weddings. So if you want to hear more about our own personal stories about how we did our finances for our wedding, please let me know in the comments and I could film a video for you all about that, going over some of our numbers and some of those things from a financial lens, not from a wedding planning lens. But I just really like listening to Reddit stories, so I thought that this would be fun for you all. So let's get into this Reddit story. I'm going to first read out the title of this one because I thought this one was very interesting, and so I thought it would have a lot of great things for us to talk about. So I'm gonna get to my computer and let's read it. So this one says, am I the a-hole for being greedy and rude while planning my wedding? Okay, so let's see, is she being greedy and rude? Now this one is only from 4 days ago, so it's a very new story, and I wanted to do that because I know a lot of other Reddit podcasts talk about a lot of this stuff on Am I the A-hole? So I wanted to make sure that I found a story that maybe hasn't been done yet. So let's go into the story and see what we think about that. I, 28 female, and my fiance, 36 male, are planning our wedding. And last night, he accused me of being greedy and rude. Background, I come from a wealthy family and have worked hard to manage finances responsibly. My father has given each daughter $120,000 for their wedding. Honestly, if you got it like that, you got it like that. So good for you. My goodness, that is so generous. And if your family can help out with your wedding in any kind of way, that should be seen as a gift and a blessing to you. It shouldn't be seen as something that they have to do. Like, this is just really nice that this father has given them this much money to spend on their wedding. Now, sometimes, you know, if people give you money for your wedding, they may have some stipulations that go along with that. So, you know, if you are in your wedding planning era and you get this money from friends or family, definitely ask them, like, if there's any strings attached, like what they would like. Talk to them and say, hey, thank you so much for this money. How can I make sure that you get something out of this wedding that you really want. My sisters used all of it for their weddings, but I asked to use 70K for the wedding and 10K for a honeymoon, saving 40K to help with future children's expenses. That is a really smart way to go about doing it. She said, hey, Dad, can we kind of split up this money between the wedding, the honeymoon, and our future children's expenses? That is a really smart way to look at this. I think that she's making a great decision for her and her future. And so I think this is like a really smart way to manage that money. And especially if her dad is on board with this, like, I don't see what's anything wrong with this. This is really smart. Plus, a 70K wedding is still a really nice event. Let's go on. My dad agreed to this plan, but only if I could make the wedding work within that budget. Now, for transparency, our wedding was about $28,000, is actually the average wedding budget for the US. So we definitely fell in line with the average wedding prices. We got married in what is known as like the off season because it was in August, so the summertime. So the reason why we did that was because we got married in mid-August, and because we chose August instead of waiting 2 weeks later till September, we saved $1,000 on our wedding venue. So that was one way that we saved costs. But I think 70K is a very reasonable budget for someone to have their wedding of their dreams. Now, some people have champagne tastes, and my husband and I do not. So 70K could be stretching it a little bit, but I think she could totally make this work, especially depending on what part of the country she is in and what kind of packages she chooses for her different stuff. All right, let's go on. I didn't make this decision lightly. When I first got engaged 5 months ago, I considered using the full amount for a European wedding, but I realized I didn't want to prioritize that. That's smart. She thought through it. She said, hey, maybe it would be fun to do like a destination wedding in Europe, but then she decided that's not where my priorities lie, and that's totally smart. A wedding is one day, and securing our future financial stability seemed more important. I totally agree with you, girl. That is a very smart way of looking at it. My fiance has been patient, but has accused me of delaying the wedding due to indecisiveness, though I'm just overwhelmed by spending so much on one day and managing everything else. That makes total sense. Like, it is a big project to do. It is very overwhelming and kind of scary to say, hey, I'm going to blow this on an 8-hour event. Like, 70K is still a lot of money. Last night, I asked him to help review venues for a tour we're doing Monday. He rushed through options and I started to cry from stress. Oh my gosh, girly. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. I really had so much support from my husband during wedding planning. He was so good about being kind through the whole situation and all of our planning process. And we had a couple of hiccups, but we always worked through them in kindness. And I am so sorry that you started to cry from the stress. It's definitely something that, as women who are planning their weddings, like, we do get a lot of stressors put on us from outside influences, from social media, that kind of thing. So I'm so sorry that you started to cry from the stress. I also wanted to vet the venue's prices before booking, but this frustrated him. I don't know why that frustrates you, man. That makes a ton of sense. Like, when I went on to the venue's wedding websites, if I didn't see where they had their pricing and their packages and stuff like that, I was less likely to want to go talk to that venue because they weren't being transparent up front with their prices. That's totally normal that you wanted to know how much they're charging. He said I was rude for not wanting to use all the money for a wedding he would love, claiming that going over budget was fine because this was our most important day. He has always dreamed of a grand wedding with lots of guests. Okay, so this sounds like the fiance and her did not talk about how they wanted to allocate their money together. Like, her father was giving this really good amount, $120,000. And then she decided, hey, I would like to split up the money in these categories so that we're ready for our future, that we have our honeymoon covered and that kind of stuff. And it sounds like the fiance is not necessarily agreeing with her. So I think one of the issues that I'm seeing here is that she didn't talk to him about that. And I think it's very important with your significant other to be very upfront with being on board with the same plan together. Like, you should be talking about things openly. And it sounds like here that he had a vision and she had a vision, and they didn't talk about their visions openly with each other. And so now their visions are clashing. And so he decided to get defensive about it and call her rude and stuff like that, which I don't understand. He's being a little dramatic, to be honest, because yes, it is an important day, but it's not going to be the most important day of your life. And I think that was like really good advice that we got from our friends who had just recently been married before us, that yes, your wedding day is important, but it's just one day. And really what's more important is your marriage and your long-term happiness in your relationship. And the wedding is just a fun party that you get to throw for your friends and family. So I think that this is something that hopefully they can work out. Maybe they can bring in like a couples counselor and talk to them and like kind of like figure this out. All right, let's go on with the rest of the story. He criticized the venue I liked, an old library that only seats 180 and fits our budget. Oh my, 180, a lot of people. Our wedding, we had about 110 people. So like a wedding venue that seats 180, that's a lot of people. Like, oh my girl, that's a big venue. And an old library, that's like a really cool and unique venue idea. I'm really on board with this old library, and 180 people, that is more than enough people you need to invite to your wedding. He said I was being rude by limiting my guest list to 60 people so he could invite 120 of his family. Wait, how is she being rude in this situation? She is saying, I'm only going to invite 60 people, so you can invite 120 people. Now, I don't know how big his family is, so maybe this is like one of those really big families. Maybe his parents both have lots of siblings, and he's got lots of cousins and aunts and uncles that he needs to invite. But like, how is she being rude by saying you can have 2/3 of the people come, and I'll only invite 1/3 of the people? Like, that seems like she's being very generous with him. I don't like the way that he's talking. This is some bad rhetoric. He also accused me of being greedy for wanting to save the leftover money and said I looked like I was hoarding it. I want to know this man's financial situation. I want to know, did this man also grow up wealthy? Like, why is he having problems with her wanting to be financially sound in her decisions with this money? Like, having this 40K for your future children is going to make having children so much less stressful on you. That seems really reasonable. So I really want to understand like why he thinks saving this money is being greedy. It's not being greedy, it's being financially smart. He argued that since we are financially well off, I shouldn't worry about saving for future children. Yeah, but if you're financially well off right now, you will only continue to be more financially well off if you save money. And I also don't know how much money they're making per year, so maybe that could factor into it. Maybe he's like in a sales position where he's making like 300K a year. So I don't know, but like I don't understand, like she's not skimping on her wedding. I don't know. This seems like something they really need to hash out in couples counseling. He also mentioned that our wedding planner had supposedly said I was being greedy, though he later admitted to making that up to show me how rude I was being. Oh, now he's just lying to her. Okay, that's not cool. That is a gigantic red flag, because he is trying to, I don't want to use the term gaslight because I don't know if that's necessarily the thing, but he's like trying to convince her that someone else was talking poorly about her so that she would agree to his plan. Like, that's not cool. I thought I was being fiscally responsible by saving the extra money, but now I'm questioning if I've made the right decision. Am I the a-hole? I'm so sorry that you're facing this. Like, I do not think you are the a-hole at all. Like, oh my goodness, your fiance is being unreasonable. Like, you are being fiscally responsible. You're saying, let's not go into debt for the honeymoon. Let's make sure that we set up our future children for success and our future selves for success, because the money that we're going to spend on our children is coming from us too. So it's benefiting our whole family and our future lives together. So it doesn't make sense like why he's saying that you're being rude and greedy when you're just trying to take this wonderful gift that your father is giving you and making it work in a context that is financially sound. So this is definitely something that you two should talk about and try and understand like where he is coming from. Like, he said he wanted to have a really big wedding. Like, what does he mean by that? What has he always envisioned in his mind for what his wedding day is going to look like? I think sometimes as women, we can sometimes discount what the men in our lives want for their wedding days. But it's very important that you honor each other in these decisions, especially for your wedding day, because it's not just your wedding day, it's our wedding day. He gets to have a say as well. And so maybe that's where he's feeling this discontent, is because she said, I'm doing this with the money. And she didn't say, what do you think about it? She just kind of said, this is what's going to happen with it. And maybe he's upset that he wasn't part of that decision making. So I can kind of see that. But like, that's something that you all need to talk about and you all need to be honest about when it comes to that. Again, having a couples counselor talk you through that would be helpful, just to have someone else in the room. A lot of people said she's not the a-hole. That was the final verdict. Let's look at some of the top comments. This one is, it's got 9.9K upvotes, so people are really agreeing with this person. And they say, not the a-hole, and do not marry this man until after the two of you have gone through some serious prenuptial counseling. Even if your relationship is really good and you have a really healthy dynamic and you have open communication, you should still do premarital counseling. My husband and I did it, and I thought it was a really great way for us to connect before our wedding. So I agree with that. The number one reason that people divorce is over money issues. Money is a thing in our lives that we cannot avoid. And if you bring issues about that into your relationship, that can cause stress, and that stress could cause the marriage to erode. So that's why I like to be open and transparent with my husband about everything we're doing. We make plans with our money together so that money is not an issue. It's just a part of our life that we use to do the things that we want in our life. So I agree with that. And you two are not even on the same continent, let alone the same page. That's really funny. That's true. They're totally on two separate sides of this issue. This is important, OP. Do it. You and your future children deserve it. And so the OP actually responded to this and said, thank you for your thoughts. We are currently in premarital counseling, and I think revisiting our finances and what goals are would be important. I agree with that. I'm glad that she did say that they are in premarital counseling. That's very good. I'm glad that she is saying this, and I agree that they should get on the same page before they move forward with a wedding, because that could cause tension in the marriage. We're going to look at one more comment because this one is really long, but this one has 1.1K upvotes. So a lot of people also agreed with this person. Not the a-hole. I know this is what every Reddit person says on wedding posts, but you're sure you want to marry this man? Maybe it's just the stress of the wedding getting to him, and usually he's super nice, but this does not sound like behavior I would want from a fiance as we're about to go into our life bound together. Totally agree with that. This man is doing some things that I would call red flags, and something that should definitely be talked about and going into the root causes of like why he's feeling this way. To me, it seems like you're being the opposite of greedy, and he is the one that wants to be greedy about the wedding. You're trying to spend less money overall by making your allotted money to go to more things. He literally told you he lied to your face about other people thinking badly of you, so you try and change your mind on a reasonable decision that you were discussing with him. I agree. That was the major red flag for me too when I was reading that. And OP, I don't think you should stand for that. I think you should have a really deep conversation with your fiance and say, I am not okay with you lying to me about what other people said, just so I would agree with you. He apparently was super big on having a giant grand wedding, yet rushed through the actual details enough to make you cry. That's true. He wants this big wedding, but then he doesn't want to spend the time actually working out the details, which are the most important part of, if you're going to have a big grand wedding, you want all the details to be super precise as well. That's what makes a wedding feel luxurious, is the tiny details. I am so serious. Is this the first time he said awful behavior like this? Are there any other red flags you may have missed? Because all of this would make me look at him and call it all off. All right, I agree with that. I think that this could be potentially a deal breaker. I don't want to say that you need to rush to that. I think since you said you're in premarital counseling, I think you just need to have a genuine heart-to-heart with your fiance and say, hey, let's talk about the wedding budget again, and let me talk to you about why I feel strongly about how we should allocate the money. And now let me hear from you. Like, try and come from it where you're not blaming the other person or anything like that, but it's, hey, let's try and understand each other, because we are a team. If you don't know how to talk through situations that are difficult in a healthy way, that is going to lead to a lot of issues in the relationship. And so, OP, I think that you really need to be careful going forward. I hate to say it, but my parents said it all the time growing up. Money does not grow on trees. Her father worked really hard to ensure that his children had this money available for their wedding. Like, and if he is saying that we should just blow that $40,000 that we were going to allot to our future kids for our current selves, like, that's a little bit selfish of him. OP, I wish you so much luck. Thank you so much for being vulnerable about sharing this on the internet with everyone and being honest about how you're feeling about all this, because I think that you and your fiance can work this out, and it's going to involve a lot of compromise and talking and being open with each other. Make sure that you're kind in how you talk to your fiance, but stand up for yourself. Don't let him just lie to you and tell you that you're being greedy and rude and all these like unkind things. Don't stand for that. OP, I'm praying for you, and I hope you have a really wonderful life with whoever you decide to marry. And I really hope that you and your fiance can resolve this and come to a good conclusion. But let me know in the comments what you think about this. If you think that the OP is an a-hole, I really don't think she is. I think that she's being very reasonable. But let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, let me know if you would like to see more of these. This was really fun to film. I love reading Reddit stories. And if you did like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye, y'all.